Hi everybody, Mr. Terrio here, and today I want to talk to you about a particular kind of infographic, which is a photograph. And here we go, and why they can be so effective for you. So I first got this idea, I was reading a Wired magazine article, and they were using photographs, and it made me start thinking about the way graphs usually are. So I have this saying, and I talk about it all the time, about how if you don't remember it, did it really happen? And there's going to be some times where you're going to give presentations in class, you're going to give presentations in a business setting or in some other kind of a setting, and you're going to need people to not only understand information, but you're going to need them to be able to remember the information so then they can talk about it at some later point. So maybe a week or 2 weeks from now, they can actually remember the thing that you said and be able to use it in some other kind of a context. So if you give them a graph that looks like this, yes, this is informative, but it's not memorable. Now, this is a little more interesting, definitely. I mean, it's a little weird, but it's also a little more interesting, right? Like you've replaced the graphs with kids, but the kids doesn't really have anything to do with the data. So you've got to make sure that the image that you're using has something to do with the data so that the data itself is memorable, not just the image is memorable. So here is the picture that was used in the Wired magazine. And this deals with drugs and hair testing. And so you can actually see that there's different lengths of hair, and they represent the different amounts of data and the types of drugs. And you can see alcohol is up here on the left, and opioids is over on the right. And there's definitely a lot more people using alcohol, etc. The other nice thing about these photographs is you do not have to be a graphic designer to make them. You can just set up a single picture, and that's going to represent all of your data. Here's another one. This is how much is spent on the things, that everyday objects that you use in your life, or the things. So we've got food, specifically bread, electricity, clothing. You can see cigarettes. You can kind of even see bedding and lodging is down there. And this is all inside of a shopping cart. This is things that people talk about in therapy. So the speakers are like representing the things you talk about. You can see there's different topics here. And this one is infectious diseases. So the infectious diseases are modeled by gum, and you can see HIV versus other different things like that. And here's another one. These are all like age range, and by the size of the gum. Okay, so we actually tried this out one time for chemistry. And I don't really know anything about this, but maybe you might be familiar with some of this stuff. Or maybe you're familiar with this. I don't know if you remember this. Or this. But how can we represent it in a photograph? Boom. Okay. Avogadro's law, and there you go. And it's a photograph, and it kind of makes things a little bit more memorable. Okay, so how do you do this? I'm going to give you an example. So here's homicides per 100,000. As you can see, the United States, a little bit kind of a crazy place to live. France, Japan, not so crazy. So I'm going to use Lunapic for this, but there are other tools that you can use to do this. Instead, you can use remove.bg, which is really easy. You can remove the background from an image. Or you can even use just an app on your phone to do this. So I'm going to use a coffin because we're talking about death, but I need something to represent the different countries and the amount of death. So I'm going to bring in everybody's favorite sniper rifle, Barrett M2. But it looks terrible with that white background, right? So we need to fix that. So we're bringing in a Lunapic. We hit edit. We remove the background, bring it back. Oh, yeah, that looks much better. I decided to change the background because I wanted to focus on the thing, but you don't have to change the background. Okay, and then we bring in everything else. So as we can see, the US, kind of dangerous. Japan, it's Nerf gun dangerous, right? Nerf gun dangerous. Okay, here's some student-created examples. Autonomous warfare in the future, right? Autobots definitely have to do with autonomous warfare. 4 against autonomous weapons. College debt. Mortality rates for meat eaters versus vegetarians and vegans or pescatarians. Heart disease, omnivores versus vegans. Politics. As you can see, kids don't care about talking about politics as much as old people do, boomers. Time spent on homework. You can see 11th and 12th grade, how much time is spent. You'll notice this pen also doubles as a stabbing tool because you're so sad about your homework. Okay, and then don't forget, so you could do the whole Luna pick, but you can also just take a single picture and do it like this, and this would be the easiest way to do it. All right, so I hope you have a good time, and if you decide to use the photographs, I'm excited to see what you create. Good luck, and thank you very much. Bye.